Welcome to Subject Academy Learner, aka SAL. Today we are going to be looking at a new geography chapter, that is Forest and Wildlife Resources. This is the second chapter of your geography textbook, class 10th NCERT. So today we are just going to be overlooking this chapter. I'm going to try to conclude it in under 10 to 20 10 to 15 minutes. All right, so this can be a quick session. So forest and wildlife resources, as you have read in your past science or socials textbook, is very important. Forest and wildlife resources plays an important role in our daily life, because most of the food that we consume is from this forest or wildlife resources. So that is why forest and wildlife resources are very important. And biodiversity and biological diversity, or sorry, biodiversity or biological diversity, we need to live about this. Okay, so is immensely rich in wildlife and cultivated species. Cultivated species का मतलब जो plants, like wheat is like a natural plant, and we take it and we cultivate it for ourselves. That is what called cultivated species. All right, diverse in form and function, but closely integrated in a system through multiple networks of interdependencies. When we talk about biological diversity or an ecosystem, all of those are organisms are interdependent on each other. Like without the frogs, snakes cannot survive. Without snakes, eagles and some other big birds cannot survive, right? And without the snakes, there will be very much breeding of those rats and little species which will completely take over the land or the forest area and will destroy the ecosystem. So we need all of these aspects of this ecological or food web, we might say in science, and we need it to have this ecosystem in a balance, right? So moving on, we need to get out to like flora and fauna in India. So India is like, when you speak in geography, there's a fact: when you get nearer to the equator from up or down, when you get nearer to the equator, you get many diverse flora and fauna, right? Because nearer to the equator from India, from north tip of India to the south tip of India, you can see a lot of diversity in flora and fauna, right? Even we have snowy regions, we have regions which are really hot, we have temperate regions, we have monsoons, right? We have regions where it rains every single week, right? And we have tropical regions, subtropical regions, arid regions, right? So we have all these types of forests. Even in India, we have mountainous terrain, we have snow, right? So that is what they're saying, all right, in India. And conservation of forests and wildlife in India. So there are a lot of projects that were introduced, such as Project Tiger right here, to conserve all of these wildlife resources, forest and wildlife, right? Because if we don't save this wildlife, going forward they will be extinct. Like for example, here they've given like key species. In 1973, the authorities realized that the tiger population had dwindled to 1827, okay, as estimated at 55,000 at the turn of the century, right? So it went from 55,000 to 1827. How do you feel like if the human population went from that to there here? Exactly, right? So the tigers needed to be what? Conserved in these forests. So what is the main reason of these of this depletion or extinction, you may ask? That is human settlements, right? We tear down the forest for our own good, and we hunt. So in olden days, they hunted tigers. Like for example, when British came to rule India, they started hunting all of these tigers in the Indian forests, right? So because it was just a shock of them, and they wanted its skin, teeth and its bones. And for some even our ancestors hunted tigers for its traditional medicines, for the use of traditional medicines, of course. So that is why these tiger population in the turn of the century dwindled to 1827. All right, so and they have took some measures like increasing the area of the reserved forest. They have been banning hunting, deforestation, and they have accepted afforestation, and they are conserving all of these territories that tigers are living in, right? So moving on, and not only this project tiger has helped to conserve the population of tigers, it also helped to conserve many other endangered species, right? We also have a list that the central government announced projects for protecting specific animals which were gravely threatened, including the tiger, the one-horned rhinoceros, which can only be found in the parts of Assam and the neighboring states, or in Gujarat also, right? And Kashmiri stag or hangul, three types of crocodiles: freshwater crocodile and saltwater crocodile, and the gharial, the Asiatic lion, and others. India, for a fact, it is one of the most countries where you can see tigers, you can see lions, and you can see rhinos, you can see zebras, and you can see giraffes, and you can see cheetahs, right? You can see Asiatic lion that are in India, and you can see elephants. The biodiversity in India is like so big because there are also species that haven't even found yet during the census, right? So that is what that we are trying to convey. We have to protect this, right? And then we also have the Indian elephant, the black buck, chinkara, the great Indian bastard, Gondavan, and the snow leopard have been fully or partial legal protection against hunting and trade throughout India. So that is what they're trying to convey, and they are telling that these uh, species that are on the endangered list have been given full or partial, ठीक है, और उनको हंट या कुछ और करने का वो इजाज़त नहीं है लोगों को, कॉमन पीपल को. और वी हैव types of forests here, that is reserved forests, which are reserved and nobody can enter it and protect, and we have protected forests, which this forest land are protected from any further depletion. All right, so protected forest ka matlab, you have a type of forest in only like some species can be found, like this type of tree can only be found in this type of forest. Okay, more than half of the total forest land has been declared reserved forests. Okay, we have unclassed forests. These are the other forests and wastelands belonging to both government and private individuals and communities. So communities का मतलब है tribal people या किसी villages that they own this thing and use these forests for their own benefit. They might get some wood or yeah, timber, yeah, they can get some honey or stuff like that from that forest. Okay, that is what community owned means. All right, so we have reserved forests, and protected forests are also referred to as permanent forests. All right, estates maintained for the purpose of producing timber and other forest produces. Reserved forest and protected forest, obviously this governments will gonna tear down this land and they'll gonna do plant only a single type of trees. All right, so then types and distribution of forests and wildlife resources, we have this, that's just what we read. And then we have communities and conservation. See, communities, when we say into this conservation or something, they play a very key and important role, right? Because without the help of a certain amount of people, you cannot do anything. Like for example, in history you needed a lot of people to bond together to grow a revolution. Also, like this, you need a support of a community to get something done, to make a change. Okay, so we have the Chipko movement and then Beej Bachao Andolan. Chipko movement refers to when all of the women and men and children of in the Himalayas came together and they hugged the trees when some rich people were like deforesting those trees. They hugged those trees and they set a really good example that they didn't want those trees to be cut down, because those trees provided shelter, food, and everything to those community, right? So let's read it. The famous Chipko movement in the Himalayas has not only successfully resisted deforestation in several areas, but has also shown that community afforestation with indigenous species can be enormously successful. All right, they showed this with hugged those trees, and they showed that these afforestation, these preservations, these conservation measures will work if we work like a community, if we work like a fist. All right, and next we have Beej Bachao Andolan. They might ask you for the 2 marks or the 3 marks. Show or prove how communities can be effective and in the conservation of forest and wildlife resources. You can give these 2 examples. Okay, these 2 examples are enough. And if you want more examples, if you want your answer to be more valuable, there are also 2-3 examples in this paragraph. All right. So, in Beej Bachao Andolan, in Theri and Navodaya have shown that adequate levels of diversified crop production without the use of synthetic chemicals are possible and economically viable. See, in this thing, they are possible. We know that without the chemicals, it's how we have been growing all of these trees, all of these plants, all of these crops from ages. ये जो ग्रीन रेवोल्यूशन आया इंडिया में, तब भी we started to use HYV seeds, high yielding seeds, and we used fertilizers, and we regarded manure, we used machineries, and etc. Right? So before that, we did not use all of these synthetic chemicals to grow that crops. Our ancestors did not, and it's possible, but is it economically viable? That is the question. Yes. So they showed that it is economically viable, that we can grow all of this. So the cost of the production is good, and the cost of the money that you're earning back is also good, right? The profit is also good. All right, so that is what they showed. And we have scared groves and a wealthy diverse and rare species. You can just read into that, and here you can see how communities help to conserve all of these forests. That is it for this chapter, but they will even not ask you, they'll skip this chapter completely when you're answering your boards, but they will ask you for the 1 marks or 2 marks, or they can give you for the case-based study if they wanted to. But I highly, when you're going to your boards, I highly advise you to just read this chapter through, because they can give you for the 2 marks or the 3 marks the Chipko movement and how it helped in conservation of forests, and how it helped to set the idea that communities can do this, communities can do that. So I hope you learn all of this. And there are also the give reasons why question, why it is like interdependent, and why humans cannot survive with all of these flora and fauna species, varieties of species. So we will be coming, when I'm doing the PYQs of other chapters like water resources, which is very important, and minerals and energy resource manufacturing industries, when I'm doing those PYQs in the coming up sessions after 1st Feb, I will do the PYQs of this chapter also. So I am Pavan N. Gowda, the mentor of history and geography at Subjects Academy Learner. If you like this video, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more class 10 board examination preparation content. Thank you.